Michael stood on the balcony of his penthouse, watching the skyline glitter under the fading light of dusk. The air was cool, but he didn't mind. His thoughts were elsewhere, back to a life he had tried so hard to forget. The past where he had been nothing more than a shadow in his own family. The forgotten son. His phone buzzed in his pocket, breaking the stillness. He didn't have to look to know who it was. His father had been calling him nonstop for weeks, ever since the news about the family business's bankruptcy had broken. His parents, once the epitome of success and prestige, were now scrambling to keep themselves afloat, and Michael was their lifeline. They had ignored him for years, but now, when they were desperate, they wanted his help. Michael leaned against the railing, thinking about the meeting he had scheduled for the following day. He had agreed to see his father and his siblings, not out of obligation, but out of curiosity. After all this time, he wanted to see what they would say now that the power dynamics had shifted, now that they needed him. The next morning, Michael found himself in the familiar, sprawling mansion where he had grown up. It had been years since he had stepped foot in the place, but nothing had changed. The same ornate furniture, the same cold marble floors, the same lack of warmth. He was greeted by his father, Charles, whose once commanding presence had diminished. He looked frail, with thinning hair and lines etched deep into his face. His mother, Eleanor, stood beside him, her eyes avoiding his. His two brothers, Mark and David, sat silently at the dining table, their expressions unreadable. Michael, his father began, his voice weak, "Thank you for coming. We need to talk." Michael stayed standing, his arms crossed. "Talk about what? The fact that you ignored me for years? Or the fact that now, when you've lost everything, I suddenly matter?" Charles cleared his throat, trying to maintain some semblance of control. "We made mistakes, Michael. We've lost the business, everything. We need your help. You've done well for yourself, and we could use your support." Michael raised an eyebrow. "My support? The way you supported me when I struggled to make ends meet after college? The way you supported me when I needed help getting my first job?" He shook his head. "No, Dad. I didn't need your support then, and I don't need your guilt now." His brothers exchanged glances, and Mark finally spoke up. "Look, Michael, we get it. Things weren't fair. But this is family. We've all made sacrifices, and it's time we come together." Michael couldn't help but laugh. "Sacrifices? What have you sacrificed, Mark? You had every opportunity handed to you on a silver platter. The only thing you sacrificed was your ability to manage the business properly." His mother, silent until now, spoke up, her voice trembling. "Michael, please. We're asking for forgiveness. We didn't treat you the way we should have. We see that now. But we're family, and families help each other." "Family?" Michael repeated, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. "You're only saying that because you have nothing left. You didn't care about me when I needed you. You only care now because I have something you want." The tension in the room thickened, and for a moment, no one spoke. Michael's father, sensing the conversation slipping further from his grasp, took a deep breath. "Michael, we've lost everything. We can't fix this without you. You're our only hope." Michael felt a familiar surge of resentment rise in his chest, but this time, it was tempered by something else, pity. As he looked at his father, the man who had never shown him an ounce of approval or care, he realized how small he had become. The family that had once stood so tall, so invincible, was now crumbling, and Michael had the power to decide whether they sank or survived. "I've already bailed out countless businesses," Michael said quietly, his voice cold but controlled. "What makes this one any different? Why should I invest in something that's been run into the ground?" "Because it's your family's legacy," his father replied desperately. "It's your mother's dream, your brother's future. If you don't help, we'll lose everything." Michael shook his head, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on him. "I've built my own legacy, Dad. One you had no part in. And now you want me to save yours." His father's eyes filled with a mix of anger and defeat. "We're still your parents, Michael. You can't just walk away from us." The room fell silent again. Michael's brothers stared at the table, unwilling to meet his gaze. His mother wiped away silent tears, though Michael doubted they were for him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Michael spoke. I'll help you, but not out of some misplaced sense of loyalty. I'll help because I'm not the same person you made me out to be. I've built something real, and I'll show you how to do the same. But make no mistake, I'm in control now. If you can't follow my lead, I'll walk away for good, and this time, you'll have no one left to blame but yourselves. His father opened his mouth to protest, but Michael cut him off. I'll have my legal team look at the business and assess what can be saved. I'll invest, but you'll pay me back with interest. This is a business arrangement, not a family favor. If you want me to save what's left, you'll do it on my terms. Charles and Eleanor exchanged uneasy glances, but they both nodded. They had no other option. As Michael turned to leave, his mother's voice broke through the tension. Thank you, Michael. We'll do better this time. He paused for a moment, but didn't turn around. Don't thank me yet. Let's see if you can keep that promise. With that, Michael walked out of the mansion, leaving the fractured family behind. He wasn't the forgotten son anymore. He was the one in control now, and whether his family could earn his trust again was a burden they would have to bear, not him. The door closed behind him, but this time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the beginning of something new, something on his terms. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more powerful stories that will leave you thinking long after the video ends.